What would you do if you saw your wife at 2 a.m., hunched over her phone, frantically deleting something from your children's devices? My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the silent house. I'd been awake for hours, a gnawing suspicion keeping me from sleep. Her fingers flew across the glass, a silent, desperate dance. She wasn't just deleting photos. She was erasing me, systematically removing my contact information. The implications hit me like a physical blow, a chilling premonition of a future I hadn't dared to imagine. The humiliation began long before that night, a slow, insidious poison seeping into our marriage. It started subtly, with late nights that turned into overnights. Vague excuses about work conferences and a growing distance felt like an ocean between us. I was a fool, blinded by a decade of shared history. I dismissed the gut feelings, the whispers of doubt, the way she flinched when I touched her. I told myself it was stress, a phase, anything but the truth. Then came the strange behavior. Her phone became an extension of her hand, always face down, always locked. She'd jump if I walked into a room unexpectedly. She started dressing differently, not for me, but with a new, almost defiant confidence. Expensive new lingerie appeared in her drawers. She'd spend hours on calls, whispering, her voice hushed and secretive. I remember one evening she was on the phone in the kitchen, her back to me. I heard her laugh, a light, carefree sound I hadn't heard directed at me in months. Then, a man's voice, low and intimate, followed by her saying, "I miss you too, baby." The world tilted. I walked away, pretending I hadn't heard, but the words echoed in my skull, a death knell for my innocence. The slow discovery was agonizing. I wasn't looking for proof, I was looking for an explanation. One afternoon, while she was showering, her phone buzzed with a text. It was on the counter, screen up. "Can't wait for our weekend in Miami, my love." Hotel booked, same suite as last time. My blood ran cold. The sender was saved as Client X. I knew no client of hers would send a text like that. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the messages. A sickening montage of stolen moments, pet names, and explicit desires. There were photos, too, of them together, laughing, kissing, in places I recognized. The man was Mark, a junior partner at her firm, a smug, arrogant prick I'd met once at a company picnic. He had a smirk that made my skin crawl. Sarah became cold, manipulative. When I tried to talk, she'd turn it around, accusing me of being paranoid, controlling, insecure. "You're imagining things, David. You're suffocating me," she'd scream, her eyes blazing with a fury that felt alien. She'd gaslight me, making me question my own sanity. "Maybe you need therapy," she'd suggest, her voice dripping with false concern. She'd use the children as shields, saying, "Think about what this is doing to them." I was trapped in a psychological war, my mind reeling, my heart breaking. I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air in a sea of lies. I broke down. One night after another argument where she denied everything, I found myself in the garage, staring at the tools, a profound emptiness consuming me. The loyal, loving husband was gone, replaced by a hollowed-out shell. I cried until my eyes burned, until there were no more tears left. But in that darkness, a flicker ignited, not of despair, but of cold, hard resolve. If she wanted a war, she would get one. It wouldn't be her war. It would be mine, fought with truth and precision. I began to secretly gather proof. I installed discreet cameras in the house, not to catch her in the act, but to document her comings and goings, her secretive phone calls. I hired a private investigator, a quiet, efficient woman named Alina. She provided me with irrefutable evidence, hotel receipts, flight manifests, photos of Sarah and Mark at the Hotel Bel Air, holding hands, kissing. I even found a burner phone she kept hidden in a shoebox in her closet, filled with even more damning texts and calls. Meticulously cataloged everything, creating a digital fortress of her betrayal. Every piece of evidence was a brick in the wall I was building around her, a wall that would eventually collapse on her. With the proof in hand, I began to set my traps. I consulted with a divorce attorney, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Ms. Albright. She advised me on how to protect my assets, secure full custody of the children, and ensure Sarah received nothing but the legal minimum. I also started subtly leaking information to key people in Sarah's social circle and at her firm. Anonymous emails, carefully crafted to appear as concerned colleagues. hinting at her unprofessional conduct and frequent absences. I knew her reputation was everything to her. I intended to dismantle it piece by piece. I also set up a separate bank account, transferring funds, ensuring she couldn't touch our joint savings. The public exposure was brutal, swift, utterly devastating for Sarah. It began with the divorce papers, served to her at her office in front of her colleagues, detailing every sordid affair, every lie, every piece of evidence. The anonymous emails had already done their work, sowing seeds of doubt. A firm of prestigious law practice launched an internal investigation. The photos from the private investigator, carefully curated and anonymously sent to the right people, circulated like wildfire. Her work trips were exposed as romantic getaways. Mark, the smug affair partner, was quickly fired, his career in ruins. Sarah was publicly humiliated, her professional reputation shattered, her social standing obliterated. Friends turned their backs, disgusted by her deceit. Her parents, conservative and deeply religious, disowned her. Sarah was completely ruined. The divorce settlement left her with almost nothing. The judge, presented with overwhelming evidence of her infidelity and neglect, granted me full custody of our children with supervised visitation for her. She lost her job, her friends, her family's respect, and the comfortable life she had taken for granted. I saw her once, months later, in a coffee shop. She looked gaunt, her eyes hollow, a shadow of the vibrant, arrogant woman she once was. She saw me, and for a moment, a flicker of the old fury returned, quickly replaced by a profound, crushing defeat. She turned away, unable to meet my gaze. I never spoke to her again. The silence was deafening, a cold, empty space where a marriage once stood. My revenge was complete, but it brought no joy. Only a quiet, haunting emptiness. The end.